everybody. It's the Old Bear and Mrs. Old Bear from the Old Bear's
Hi.
Den of Bigfoot. We have a account from that started 2 weeks before Halloween of last year. And it involves a young couple in Kentucky. And this one is a little bit on the scary side of the situation of dealing with Bigfoot. My wife has heard this. And, well, what's your thoughts on being scared by Bigfoot, my dear?
I would probably pass out.
Mm. Okay.
After screaming.
Yeah, and I
Or
have
not screaming, just pass out. Just freeze.
Yeah, well,
Maybe.
This encounter starts about the 17th of October of 2022. This couple was at home. It's after midnight. They live in an area that is they have a long driveway up to their house. They have a very nice home. And I will say this way. It's after midnight. They're a married couple. They're in their master bedroom together. That didn't sound good, did it?
Sounds like somebody stuck.
Yeah. And they're awake. They're not asleep. They're husband and wife. And you can probably infer from that where it's going. The husband is how shall I say this? Positioned below his wife's lower waist. She is enjoying what is going on, and she happens to look up, according to them, to her right at a window that they have windows that are kind of above normal. And it's a small window. And she looks out the window because they have outside lights and you can see light coming in. Well, she happens to notice there's no light coming in the window and looks at the window. She looks in the window and sees a face. Now, this is not pareidolia. She sees a face and it's cheesing at her, doing this. Yeah, that alone would be enough to scare the living daylights out of my wife.
He's trying to be pretty.
And she screams. She screams because there is something looking in at her, and she is laying there in bed on top of all the covers and the sheets, and with nothing on. Now, she is a late 20s something blonde, very pretty, all the right curves in the right places, I guess, like my beautiful wife. And she freaks out. Naturally, the husband jumps up. Then he goes and runs out of the bedroom. Now, coming out of their bedroom, you go down the hall just a few feet and turn right, and that little hall leads to the back door, which goes out onto their patio, which is right at their in-ground pool. So he goes down the hall, turns right, goes out the back door, and runs smack dab into a hairy 7 foot tall, over 7 foot tall, said it was taller than him, about a foot. Because when he ran into it, it went, huh. I'm doing the sound effects for y'all tonight, okay? He looks up and looks in this thing, not eye to eye, but looks up into its face. Now, there's lights out back of the house, and they're on. 2 dusted on lights and lights around the pool are on. He's there in his birthday suit. Yeah. They live in the country, so yeah, you can run outside your house in a birthday suit and not get the police called on you. Runs smack dab into this hair-covered creature and looks up and sees the face of it, and it looks down at him and goes, sounds like fun, right? Yeah. He then retreats through the door he just came through, locks it, locked the screen door, locked the door, the heavy door to the outside. Now, here's a piece of information that I'm going to give you. That window that she saw the face in, the bottom of the window is 9 feet up on the back side of the house. Yeah, 9 feet to the bottom, not the top, the bottom of the window, not up here. So
Big
this is looking in at her at over 9 feet off the ground. At this point, the husband goes back to the bedroom. He has a shotgun loaded with double-aught buckshot in the bedroom, in the closet. He grabs the shotgun from the closet. He goes back out the back door after telling his wife to call the local police and let them know that they have an intruder at their home and they need help. The woman tells the dispatch that her husband has a loaded shotgun going out after this person. She used the word person because it looked like a human face. Once she goes out the door, He goes out the door. He looks around. He does not see the creature that he ran into. It has taken off and jumped across the pool, but it made a misstep. Its 1 foot went into the pool when it jumped across it. This is a normal sized in-ground pool, and it almost cleared it completely and got 1 foot wet. There are wet footprints on the opposite side of the pool, and it's not running away. It's walking through the backyard under the dusk to dawn lights that are in the backyard. So it has no fear of artificial light. At that point, he levels the shotgun at this creature and pulls the trigger. Did not shuffle the shotgun because it was a pump action. It wasn't a semi-auto, it was a pump action. Did not shuffle the empty casing out automatically. The creature scratches its behind, growls, and continues walking towards the wood line at the end of the backyard. When it got out of sight, out of the light, he heard and it was to his right, within a 10 or 15 feet of him. Because when he came out the door, he went to the left to go around the pool, but saw the creature and shot at it from that position. When he turned and looked to his right, the one that was standing there staring in at his wife and him was still standing there, unafraid of him shooting a gun. Did not take off at the report of the shotgun. Looks at him, bares its teeth, and then does a typical growl of disdain for what he just did. He now knows and understands that he's in either A, in a world of hurt, or B, he's going to have a heart attack and die right there on the spot and won't care what happens. Die from fright, basically. At this point, he tries to shuffle the shotgun and half shuffles it. In other words, the spent shotgun casing is coming out and a new one is coming up, and he tries to close it before the spent casing is completely out. Luckily for him, this Bigfoot evidently didn't want to kill him right then and there.
Yeah.
And it stands there looking at him, trying to figure out what in the world this idiot is doing. That's according to the Bigfoot. I'm not calling the man an idiot. But he is trying to figure out what in the world this person, human, is doing. May not have been a real smart one. Just saying. I'm not trying to offend the Bigfoot either. Which I don't care if I do, but that just, No big deal. He runs back into the house for the second time. This time, after shutting and locking the door, he goes in, and his wife said the police are on their way. What did you shoot at? He said there was 2 of these things that looked like what was looking in at you, and they were care covered. One over 7 feet and the other one well over 9 feet. Somewhere between 9'10" and 10 feet. Which was the one that was looking in the window at her, laying on top of the, yeah, you got the picture. At this point, he pulls on a pair of pants and they start turning the lights on in the house and on the back of the house and the front of the house, waiting on the police to show up. Whenever they heard the sirens to the police that were coming, they heard the big one run off from the backside of the house. So it had stood out there the whole time. They tell the police that these 2 people dressed up in ghillie suits or whatever they were in were looking in at him, looking in at his wife and him while they were in their bedroom
Alone.
having marital relations. Yeah, my wife's going to laugh when I say that. She gets giggly. And at this point, they're doing their level best to... The police are looking at them like this. Y'all have lost y'all's daggum blame mind. Half believing what they're saying. They do go around and look around the backside of the house, and they find the wet footprints from the pool where it had put its foot in the water and it left wet footprints. The size of the print was not a man's shoe, it was a larger footprint. This creature had 14 or 15 inch prints, and it was not a shoe print. It was an actual print that did not look completely human because it was a complete flat foot. The deputies took a report, filed the report, and that was the end of night 1. Nothing else happened. They stayed up most of the rest of the night, his wife falling asleep around 3 a.m. and him going to sleep by about 4:30 a.m. Nothing else happened at their home. Fast forward a couple of days, and his wife goes out in the evening, and while she's out there, she hears whistles. Yeah. They're whistling at her. Pretty lady. Yeah. The husband comes out to see what all the whistling's about because he can hear it inside. He comes out and gets his wife and escorts her back to the house. And whenever he got almost to the house with her, they start hearing growls. Now, this is the front of the home. There's a couple hundred yards between the front of the house and the roadway. And there's woods in between the front of the house and the roadway. there might be 100 feet of woods. So it's 200 feet from the front of the house to the road, and there's 100 feet in front of the house that is yard. So these things are still there. And they speculate that there's more than just two. So they don't call the police because of the looks they were getting a couple of nights before. They leave the situation alone and try their best to live their lives. And they discuss and decide that his wife is not to go out except when it's full daylight, because hopefully these things are nocturnal and they will not see her out at night and be whistling at her and growling at him. So they proceed to do their things at their home for the next 2 or 3 days, and nothing eventful happens. The only time that she's outside is when she goes to work, or when she's outside doing stuff at the front of her house in her flower beds. And he stands outside with the shotgun protecting her. Every once in a while there'll be a whistle, but nothing else eventful other than the whistles happens for the rest of the week. Now we're at a weekend. Now this previous week, when all the whistling and the growling and all that stuff and the Bigfoot that were at the window happened, was during their week's vacation. They had planned on staying home. So now it's the weekend. He wants to take and do something for his wife, take her to dinner, take her to a movie, whatever, to give her some relief, to release the built up mental anguish and everything else. And they go and they watch a movie in town, and they go to a very nice restaurant, and she proceeds to drink some alcohol in the form of wine. Alcohol's usually not, in a Bigfoot situation, that's not a good thing.
No.
So when they get home, the wife is slightly inebriated on wine. And on the way home, she is hinting at something. Be right back. As I was saying, she's hinting at something when they get home. They're a young couple. So things start getting frisky.
Frisky's a good word.
And clothes start coming off before they go through the front door. You can see where this is going. They start doing things to each other. Her clothes are completely off, and his clothes are soon to follow. Now remember, there's 200 feet between their front door, their front porch, and the road, and there's not a lot of people that live on the road. It's out in the country. There's not a lot of traffic. So they proceed to do what they wish. And after a few moments, not minutes, of being in compromising positions, they hear she stands upright, not thinking, and this brings him to his knees. They then go to open. He finally gets up and opens the front door and unlocks the door, the metal door on the front of their house, like ours, like the one behind my wife. At this point, he starts to go inside to shove his wife inside, and he flips the lights on inside the house, and there's like 4 lights there, switches right inside the doorway. He flips them on, it turns 2 lights on the inside on the entranceway and the living room light, and it flips 2 lights on the lights on the front of the house. When he turned around to grab his wife, he then sees 4 hair-covered creatures varying in height from 7 feet to 10 feet in their front yard at about 60 feet from the front porch. And at this point, he loses control of his bladder. The wife screams because she sees one at the far side of the driveway, peeking around the house, looking at them on the front porch. There's one there, and the other ones are in the yard. They duck into the house, leaving their clothing. She runs into the house and screams at him, "Get in here." He listens. And they go in the house, not picking up any of their clothing. The 4 that were in the yard comes towards the front porch. There's 2 smaller ones that come to the front porch. They pick up her dress and her, can I say the word? Thong underwear, and start sniffing it. Perverts. Bigfoot perverts, yeah. They start making sounds, and the whole time they're cowering in their front doorway to their living room and to inside their house, trying to lock the doors, deadbolts, everything else on the front door, like that will stop a Bigfoot. Not if they want to come in. Then these Bigfoot disperse from the front of the house and start smacking on the side of the house. They become scared. She has the wherewithal to run upstairs and put on some sweats, a sweatshirt, grab a pair of tennis shoes, and brings him some clothing to put on. they surmise a plan to leave, to get out of there. Now, they have vehicles. When they came home, they were in his convertible BMW. And it was pulled into the garage and the door was shut down. And they walked to the front of the house. They could have went through the doorway there out of the garage, but they didn't. They went through around to the front to go in. And that's where they were caught in their compromising positions. At that point, they come up with a plan, or he come up with a plan of getting in his car, backing it out of the garage, and leaving to go stay at a motel. She looks at him and says, "You're crazy. I'm not getting in a convertible with them big things out there. No. We can get in my car, which is a large SUV with a big V8 in it, and get out of here a lot faster." So, at that point, he grabs his trusty little shotgun with buckshot in it. They go out and get in her car. And when she starts the car up, he's sitting in the passenger seat. She's going to drive. The garage door automatically starts coming up. And when it started coming up, they saw two big hairy feet because the lights on the car are illuminating it. Comes up a little more, they see knees, hair-covered legs. Comes up more, they see a hairy lower torso covered in hair. Comes up more, they see a hairy stomach, hairy chest. Then they see the head of this thing, and it's the one that was standing there staring at her in the window just a week ago. When he saw the legs, he rolled the passenger window down. And at that point, she throws it in gear. He sticks his little shotgun out the window and shoots this thing in the stomach. It runs off, bent over, holding itself, its stomach area. She floors it, leaves black marks in the garage and down part of the driveway. They go to town, to the nearest big city to them, and get a motel room and stay there all weekend. Now, they call off on Monday. And they then go home on Sunday, wanting to see what kind of damage has been done to their home. And they get there, and the front glass door is broken in. There's huge dents in the siding of the house, because I guess it had aluminum siding. The back door is dented in. The garage door is ripped down on top of his car, along with the garage door opener. The door that goes from the garage into the house is broken in. They go in the house, they find feces all over their kitchen, and Mrs. Bayer is kicking the camera.
I'm sorry.
Anyway, since Mrs. Bear's not going to kick the camera anymore, we'll get to the rest of this.
Sorry, guys.
So now they're through a week and a half of this, and there's feces in the room, in the house. They go to the master bedroom. The garden tub in the master bathroom is 3 or 6 inches away from the wall. They ripped the garden tub out. There is all of her personal makeup and perfumes and body lotion and all this stuff is all over the bathroom and bedroom. The bed is flipped over. The chest of drawers is flipped over. The dresser with the huge mirror on it is flipped over. Everything hers is messed around, and you could tell that there was some other stuff there. And they surmised that these creatures went in and started smelling her stuff and went crazy. He calls a friend of his that owns a company that comes in and cleans up after fires and water damage and stuff like that, and vandalism and stuff like that, and they fix the home back to its original. The guy comes over and he's like, "What in the world is all that stuff all over the garden tub?" He goes out to his personal vehicle that he brought and has a black light in its fluids from these creatures all over the garden tub, all over the countertop in the bathroom, on the bed, floor. So evidently these creatures came in and did things that I'm not going to talk about.
Should have been on an episode of Law and Order.
No. Law and Order wouldn't know how to deal with this. So that's Sunday. Monday, this guy has 5 or 6 different contractors there fixing the damage on the outside of the house, fixing the doors. They have to replace 3 of them. He's got a multitude of people there, and they're cleaning the bathroom, and they don't get the garden tub reinstalled yet. It's a process they have to go through, but they get it cleaned out and got all the stuff off from the carpets and cleaned the carpets in the bedrooms and through the hallways and in the kitchen. They cleaned all that stuff up, and anything that had anything on it was taken outside and put in a huge dumpster that was delivered about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. They filled the dumpster. Now, this is Halloween when they're there. They're there on Halloween day. Halloween night is the scary time. Now, they're there, and right at dark, all the contractors are gone by 5:30. 6 o'clock rolls around. They hear screams outside. Should I do the screams that they heard?
If you want to.
Okay. Some of for instance, for you, of the screams that they were hearing whistles, tree knocks. They were having rocks start at their house now. They turn all the outside lights on. Now, when the deputies, the week prior, or the 2-week period prior to this, when they were there, they said that they would turn this in, and somebody would be there to talk to them. Well, that Monday on their vacation, there was 2 men that came and talked to them. Yeah, government men that came and talked. So at that point, they make a phone call. One of the deputies gave them his personal number to his cell phone and said to call him at any time they needed him. They make that phone call. This deputy comes screaming down the road in his police car, gets to the house. Now they're under attack, and it's not looking good. When he pulls in the driveway, he sees one of these creatures. Okay, we did a little position change. So this deputy shows up. When he pulls in, he sees one of these creatures. He goes to get out of his car. This creature runs over and smashes the hood of the police car in, blows out both front tires, then proceeds to bust the windows out of the car, rip the lights off the car, the flashing blue and red lights. Another Bigfoot joins it, and they collapse the roof of the car. Now this deputy is trapped inside. He can't get out. He can't do anything to help them. He's on the radio screaming for help. He needs backup. He needs backup. Now these other Bigfoot are now in the yard, and this man comes out and he starts shooting at these creatures, and with a high-powered rifle that he never sighted in. He can't hit the broadside of a barn with this rifle. And all this got started because he let his wife go out wearing a pair of shorts and a shirt, and these creatures saw her and were trying to court her, I believe. Please don't ever do that. So now all this is going on, and it's getting darker by the minute. The man goes out the front door, and he has changed firearms at this point after getting his wife back in the house when the deputy showed up, and they changed their attention from her to the deputy. He has now grabbed that 12 gauge that used to have buckshot in it and now has 3-inch Magnum slugs in it. Goes out the front door. He starts shooting at the creatures that are attacking the deputy, wounding one, or wounding both of them. One of them, I believe, was mortally wounded. Now there still leaves 3 more. These Bigfoot come to the front of the house. The ones that were in the back now come to the front, and he is trying to load shells into the shotgun. He has spent every round out of the shotgun, the L5. His wife comes out the front door carrying a 9mm pistol that she has kept in her purse for years and hasn't shot for quite a long time. And the 3 that are in the front yard coming towards her husband, she starts shooting at them. I'm sorry, a 9mm might work wonders on a person, but a Bigfoot it will not. So, about this time, when she's almost empty, he gets a couple of shells in the shotgun, racks it closed on a live round, And he shoots one of these Bigfoot at almost a 15-foot distance with a slug. And he was not aiming it, but luckily he was pointed in the direction to stop one in the head.
Wow.
He puts another round in there, and the other two Bigfoot take off because they see the other ones that were at the police car, and now this officer is out of the car because one of the Bigfoots, when it was shot, had a hold of the door, and when it spun, it pulled the door open enough for the deputy to get out. He gets out, and he starts firing rounds at the Bigfoots that are retreating. About this time, there are newer style black panel vans that pull in. People start jumping out of these and are in hot pursuit of the ones that are running away. A couple of them go over and shoot the ones that are on the ground to make sure they're dead. They're shooting the Bigfoot. For good reason.
Ouch. Are they hitting them in good places?
Yes. They're killing them.
Good. Because that sounds like a nightmare.
And about now it's 6:30 something till 7. And about 2 hours later, the men that went into the woods in pursuit of the Bigfoot that were retreating come back. And they gather up some items out of the vans and go back into the woods. And then around 10 o'clock, they come back out. And they report to their immediate supervisor that everything is all well and good and everything has been taken care of. They then proceed to get rid of the ones that are in the front yard, and this couple are taken into their home along with this deputy and told not to speak of what has happened, and if they do, they may be arrested. Well, after a few months, this man calls me, almost a year, calls me and tells me what happened. That is the reason I'm only giving you a generalization that it happened in Kentucky, and that I am telling you not every detail to keep them pretty anonymous. Any damage to their home was fixed. They have actually moved from that home since then. They do not live there anymore. They do not live in Kentucky anymore. They have moved to a different state, and I am not telling what state they moved to because of the possibility of getting them in trouble. So I hope that you take this situation that they were in and remember not to do the things that they did if there might be Bigfoot around your home. And if there are Bigfoot around your home, you most certainly don't do the things that they did and put coverings over your windows so these things can't look in at you. So I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you and your children or grandchildren or great-grandchildren have a wonderful Halloween. And this is the Old Bear.
And Mrs. Bear.
Signing off, and happy Halloween, people.
Good night.